Hey, Alec Miller here, founder of Rails and Rogues, and today we're starting a new series on how to run your own motion design agency. So my last few videos have kind of been all over the place, and I'm sure nobody's noticed because I only have like 50 subscribers. But I decided to really nail down and provide some actual value to the nether of YouTube. And one of the things I was thinking about is how hard it was when I was first starting my motion design studio / agency to get started, to figure out what I needed, what steps I needed, especially ones that pertain to me individually. There are a lot of general business information out there that I wasn't sure if I needed to follow or not. So I'm gonna be taking all of you step by step from, literally nothing, from being straight out of college or currently at a full-time position to starting an LLC, to opening a business bank account, to getting your first job, hiring your first employees, and then walking through an entire large project. All the way start to finish, the entire pipeline. And then after that, I'm going to start playing around with some more of these big idea, mental changes, talking about the industry as a whole, talking about business as a whole. But I think I want to get this foundation down of start to finish how to run a motion design agency. So if you're looking to start one, or you've just started one, or you're really any sort of creative at all, this should all be very valuable to you. So hit subscribe because there's going to be a ton of great information coming your way, all completely free, and it's all stuff that I really wish that I knew when I had gotten started. And one of the first questions I had when I started my agency was, should I start an LLC, and if so, how? So I'm going to answer those in reverse order. So how do you start an LLC? Well, unfortunately, this changes state to state, and even more so country to country. But really, the same steps are generally going to apply. If you're in another country other than the US, I just highly recommend Googling it, finding some legitimate sources, and going there. I'm not going to be an expert on every single country's business code. And so you're going to be on your own for that one, unfortunately. If you're in the US, you need to go to your local state's corporation commission. So this is probably going to be your state's initials. So for me, azcc.gov, and it's going to look something like that. There are a lot of scammers out there, so I highly recommend avoiding any site that's not .gov and then that isn't officially a government website. Anything else is going to be sketchy and possibly trying to trick you out of your money. There is a fee, usually around $50 to $70, plus you can expedite it, which just means getting it done faster. If you're in a rush, it's actually not a bad idea. In my experience, it really does speed things up. However, if you can wait, not spending that extra $25, it might take them a few months to get back to you. Now, I do recommend starting an LLC, not an S Corp or a C Corp or a 501c3, which is a nonprofit. Something most people don't realize is that even if you register as an LLC, you can still file taxes as an S Corp if you wish. There are a few reasons why you might want to do this, which I'll probably get into in another video, but needless to say, you don't need to worry too much about it. Just start an LLC and don't worry too much about the S Corp, C Corp stuff. You can worry about that later, and it's not that hard to transition over, in all honesty. You are going to need a name for your business, an address for your business, and hopefully a website for your business. These are all things that you're going to want to check and make sure are available. There is a bit of a catch-22, which is like, well, do I need the business account to start the business, or do I start the business and then the business account? I recommend starting the LLC first. You see, banks don't require you to have a unique business name to register an account, but the government does, as well as websites. So the order for checking your name is going to be first with the government, then with the URL, and then after that with your bank account. As far as choosing a business name goes, I'll probably make a whole nother video about that. It took me almost 6 months to name my business, which is way too long. I probably could have named it earlier, not worried about it too much, but it was really important to me to get it right the first time. You can register your business as a separate name, but then you do risk clients making checks out to your business name and forgetting to follow your instructions to make it out to whatever your LLC is or whatever you are registered at your bank. I do believe you can register at your bank as your business and not necessarily your LLC's name and still have those checks cash, but I try to keep it all coherent for myself. I've actually had a check that I couldn't cash because it was made out to Rails and Rogues and my business hadn't yet opened. It was pending filing, and I did everything I could to try to show the bank that I was the owner of it and try to prove to them. I showed them business cards and paperwork, and they said, frankly, your name's not on the check and we can't cash it. So the last thing you're going to need is a registered agent. So more or less, this is going to be a separate address from your business address that they're going to send all the official documents to. This can still actually be you, and it just usually has to be a different address from your business address in case your business closes down. Let's say you're running a storefront, that storefront closes, they still need to be able to get all this paperwork to you. So typically it'd be your home address, while your business address would be the other one. You can also hire a third-party company to be your registry agent, as well as kind of do all the filing for you. Now, this is what I did. I hired InkFile to do all this stuff for me, and it worked out pretty well. It was a very smooth process. It ended up being a little more expensive than if I had just done it myself. They give you a cool little box at the end here. I'm not sponsored by them, and I doubt I will be sponsored by them, because I'm about to tell you something that I don't like about them. And that is that they do charge you every year to keep registering at their address. So they're your registry agent, but every single year you have to renew, and it's not cheap. It's like $100 or maybe $120, I forget. For me, it's worth it still. I move fairly often, and $120 isn't cheap, but for a business of my size, which isn't huge, but it's doing fairly well, it really isn't the biggest deal. Plus, I can write it off on taxes. But it was a surprise expense that I wasn't expecting, the year after I had registered. And especially if you're running really tight, it might be a consideration. All right. Okay, guys. So sorry for the interruption here. And if things look a little bit different, it's because it is different. It's a different day. I was editing this video that you're watching right now, and I realized I wanted to see if it really was as easy to start an LLC in other states as it is in AZ, in Arizona, where I'm from. And holy crap, it is not. I did some popular states. I checked out New York, and I checked out California, and it's kind of insane. And unfortunately, if you're in one of these states, that just makes it an absolute nightmare. You are best off using an online filer. In New York, it's like $200 plus a $50 publishing fee. And that is something that I did leave out of this video unintentionally. Other than the articles of organization, which is more or less just general business information that you have to fill out, you are going to need to publish your business information in a newspaper. It's a stupid, backwards rule that most states have. Arizona has it too. Most states have this law. And it's not that hard to do. You pretty much just pay to do it, and there's many services. But at this point, with some of these states, I'm just going to recommend finding a third-party filer. Most of the states have a list of certified ones on their website. Please use those ones. So sorry for this aside, but yeah, it's really complicated in certain states, and I apologize for not realizing how complicated it was going to be other places. So my recommendation is, if you're living in one of these overly complex states, file through one of these online services, but just be aware they are going to charge you. They find ways of getting your money, right? So they're going to be charging you year after year to keep them as a registry agent. Like I said, it's not impossible to change that, and sending a change notice is a lot easier than many other notices. It's pretty much, you just take your LLC information, you tell them what's changed, and you pay. It's a smaller fee, usually around $20 from what I've seen doing additional research, but it can be a little bit more just depending, once again, on your state. So, and this is why I don't even bother trying to do other countries. Yeah, as far as the publishing and everything else goes, I wanted to be transparent about that and not give you guys false hope. Once I started researching other states, I realized that this was just insane and I couldn't recommend it. So now that you got your domain name and all this stuff, why? Why did you do this? Why did you go through all this hassle to start an LLC? Couldn't you just kept operating out of your house as your own self? Well, there's a few reasons. Reason number one is the government views you as a business, so you should probably view yourself that way too. The government doesn't believe freelancers exist. Now, that might sound crazy. Of course they believe freelancers exist. There's laws around it. No, not really. If you look at your taxes, if you look at the way they think about you, you aren't a freelancer. You're either an employee or a business. It's called a sole proprietor. It just means a business of one, you. It's actually really helpful to think about yourself this way. It allows you to think about yourself rather than needing to do all the work alone, that you can hire other people. Anybody can write anybody else a 1099. You just use your social security number instead of your EIN, which is your electronic identification number, essentially just your tax license number, which is also another reason to start an LLC, is a little more anonymity. I felt really weird anytime I worked for somebody sending them my social security number, not really knowing who was looking at it at their business. Having an EIN to send people instead is way nicer. So there's the fact that the government thinks of you as a business. Then there's also the protection of having a number other than your social security number to hand out to people. There's also, like I said, the check cashing reason. The next reason to start an LLC is right in the name, Limited Liability Company. You want to limit your liability. What that means is if someone goes to sue you, there's a limit of how much they can take. It's essentially separating you personally from the work you're doing in your business entity. So let's say you're working for a large company like Disney or Ubisoft, and you sign an NDA. Then you hire someone else to do some work on it, and they end up leaking some of those images. Then you get hit with a lawsuit. Chances are for thousands to millions of dollars. You can't afford that. And you can't fight this legally. You're just going to have to pay for it. So normally what happens is they come after you as you're the one that signed the NDA, and they drain all the money in your bank account. But now that you have an LLC, essentially there's a wall between your money and the business's money, and they can only take what's in the business and not your money. So there are a few requirements for this to work, as most people that think starting an LLC is protecting them actually aren't protected legally at all. Here's why. You see, if you don't have a separate bank account for yourself and then one for your LLC, and you don't keep your expenses separate, they're gonna blow right past your LLC and into your personal account. They're gonna look at your expenses, and if you've been using your business's bank account as though it was your personal bank account, they're gonna make the argument that you're just running this as a front, it's more or less just your own bank account anyway, and blow right past it. You gotta have the paperwork to show that they're very separate. This is just one of the many reasons why I highly recommend starting a separate bank account from your own bank account. It's gonna really help you out in a lot of ways, but that's gonna be a whole nother video. But in order to actually get this protection that the LLC offers, just know you need to be keeping your books tidy. You need to be very clear to separate your business expenses from your personal expenses. And in general, you just want a very clear paper trail showing that your business is your business and your personal life is your personal life. This brings me to my final reason why you should start an LLC. And it's for the mental shift. You have to think of yourself no longer as someone that's limited by their own skill set and abilities to solve problems, but instead think of yourself as a problem solver that can use as many skill sets or abilities as needed to get the job done. This is what's going to allow you to take on very large projects that you would otherwise not be comfortable to take on by yourself. It's going to give you the confidence to hire other people and bring them on to do more work than you would ever be capable of solo. This is the difference between a freelancer and a business. You're no longer working as a solopreneur doing everything yourself and then charging for your time. You're charging for results, you're charging for your thoughts, you're charging for your creativity, and then how you get that done is up to you. And for me, starting an LLC is what gave me the confidence to start hiring other people to do work that I couldn't do or didn't want to do. I started getting better results, making better work, and getting larger clients because I wasn't limited by my skill set. Things I was weak in, like storyboarding or illustrating, I could bring someone else in to do and then just focus on being a better animator, and then eventually just being a better business operator and creative director, letting my team handle as much of the work as possible and only getting my hands dirty when I really want to or if necessary. I don't think I could have made this shift if I just continued to operate as myself. I also don't know how many of my clients I could have won if they thought I was just a solopreneur doing it all alone. Having a team really helps me sell to larger clients and tell them that we can handle the capabilities that they require, and they have more confidence knowing that it's not just one guy trying to do everything, because they as a large business understand that one person can't do everything, especially as you get to larger projects and budgets. So hit subscribe because we're going to be going through this whole thing from A to Z. I've already talked about how to start an LLC, but we're going to get into naming, running a bank account, how do you get your first projects, how do you follow up with clients, how do you pitch on things, how do you not pitch on things but still get work, all the way to completing projects, what your pipeline should look like, hiring animators, artists, and so on. So this is going to be, I think, super valuable, and I cannot wait to share all this with you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.